Hey, you, I was thinking about you. And you know what I was thinking? I was thinking it's time for you to soar. Welcome to the It's Time to Soar podcast, Getting Unstuck with me, Coach Katina. I am excited to have you here because this podcast is for anybody who's ever navigated professional waters and wanted to go to a next level, but felt like something was holding them back. Well, here is where we learn from experts. We have real conversations about visible and invisible snags that could be holding you back from your next. This episode is all about finding your passion and your purpose. And sometimes finding your passion and your purpose isn't in what you're doing right now. I'm excited because our guest is an expert in this arena. She's walked the walk and talked the talk. She is the founder of CL James Consulting, and she has an incredible story and great tidbits for you to learn, especially if you're in a job, in a role, and it's not necessarily your passion. So, without any further ado, I am going to bring up our guest to the stage, Cheryl James.
Hey there. Thanks so much for having me, Coach.
So glad to have you. Cheryl, I told them that you were the founder of CL James Consulting. I told them about the title of our episode, but I would really love for you to tell us about your organization because therein lies the passion.
Absolutely. So, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Again, I'm so happy to be here. Let me give you a little backstory about me. I went to school for computer science, graduated, hated it because I found out I am passionate about doing things. I'm an execution girl. I'm a project manager. I love those things. So after 27 years in corporate America, doing a job that I had no passion for, I left a Fortune 100 company and took the leap to start CL James Consultant. Some people would call me a fractional chief operating officer. I simplify it and just say I'm an operations strategist. My goal in life is to help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners like you stress less and profit more. That is where my passion lies.
That is amazing. And I want to underscore you left a role that you said you didn't have passion for, but you were doing very well.
I was. And you know what? Sometimes that makes us stuck. You get tied to your corporate title. You get tied, let's be honest, to the corporate paycheck and the safety net and not having to look for clients. The work is just delivered to your door. We get comfortable in that. But, one thing I always like to say to my clients and people I meet is that once you get to that place of truly knowing what your passion is,
Mhm.
your desire to do that all of the time becomes real. And then you can't imagine yourself not doing it.
That part and so I would say, and I would ask, that tension is the part and hopefully you can give us some tips on how to find our passion, and when we find it, how to let go.
Absolutely. Let's talk about passion versus hobbies for a minute, because that's
Mm.
a real thing. Some people feel like just because I love to bake and that's my hobby and everybody says I bake great cakes, I'm going to open a bakery. No, because guess what? You will start to hate baking. You have to find something that gives you purpose on the good days and the bad days. When it's raining outside and you got to go out and try to find that one next client, that is your passion. It is the thing you could talk about all day, the thing that you read about, the thing that you just find joy in. is your passion. And
Mm.
oftentimes people get it confused with their hobbies. Don't do that, because then you'll start not loving that thing. Find that thing that gives you joy even when it doesn't turn out right. Now that's real.
Mm. Has anybody struggled with trying to decide whether it's your passion or your hobby? If you're out there and you're like, wait a minute, is this a hobby or is this a passion? If that's you, you're kind of in that zone. Go ahead and type "it's me" in the comments, so we can tell that you're kind of struggling in between. Is this a hobby or is it a passion? That's a real space.
It is a real space. And sometimes people stumble in that space. I'm going to go back to
Mm.
my cake example for a minute, because
Mhm.
it is a real client of mine who loved to bake cakes. She was the family baker.
Uh-huh.
Everybody wanted their cake from her. So she opened the bakery. She not only hates to bake now, but she also doesn't even have time to bake, because the time is spent doing the running of the business. And that's why I say really take time to settle in to that thing that brings you passion. Because if you are starting a side hustle, if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or if you are one, you do realize that there are bad days.
Mm.
There are lonely days. There are days or nights, I'm going to say, when you will be up working and grinding by yourself. You have to be really clear on your why. You have to be clear on why you do it, what brings you passion about it. You have to be clear on that, because you will need to lean on that in the midnight hour, because you will
That
be up. I promise you.
that is so real. Now I want to split and I want to include um, some folks that may be in their corporate role, but there's a culture at the organization that they're boxed in to a certain scope of responsibilities and
Hmm.
they're not feeling validated. We are not in the era, and sometimes maybe some of us still are, but in our parents and our grandparents generation, they stayed at a place that they didn't love because they had to put food on the table, because they wanted the watch at the end of 35 years. And I am not being disrespectful to the watch, but so many people sold out their passion because they didn't know how to break free of what was expected.
That is
Talk,
absolutely right. Can I piggyback on that for a minute?
please do.
We have grown up in a culture of corporate, almost like corporate prison. You go in and you're like, okay, if I just make manager, okay, if I just make, assistant director, okay, I think I'm gonna go for director. They keep dangling the carrot in
Hmm.
front of you, and we are conditioned to believe that somehow that corporation and that title becomes our identity. As soon as you realize that you are completely separate from that role, the same way, I'm talking to the women for a minute, the same way as parents, as our children get older, we have to realize that our role changes as a mother. So it's the same way in corporate, that you have to say, if I walk away from this thing, I will still be me.
Mm.
And I'm going to be honest, you have to do some soul searching work to get out of that bondage, because it's a mindset shift that needs to happen to get you from corporate to being a business owner comfortably. Now I'm going to stress the word comfortably, because sometimes people make the leap and then they say, oh no, the water is too cold, I'm going back. So get there and get it comfortable, get your mindset prepped, and then when you make the leap, it will feel like a transition to your point of next.
That's good. You said comfortably. And when you make the leap, you should definitely know yourself, know your strengths, and be confident. that you can do it. That doesn't mean that there's not fear. Hear me. There, do it with your knees shaking, but do it. Do it with a tremble in your voice, but do it. And it's like you make the leap, but if you don't know yourself, how can you sell yourself to yourself? That's the mindset shift. So, John Maxwell, he says, in order to grow yourself, you have to know yourself. And so,
Absolutely.
corporate hero, if you are hanging out still in corporate, but you're realizing that you have a passion, Cheryl, what would you say to that person that they're still working? What would you say some baby steps might be, or some steps before the leap?
I think it's a lot of steps before the leap, quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly. I think that you start to really understand
Mm-hmm.
where you want to take that passion. Now, I'm going to say this. No one is tied to any one single thing. I promise you, you will pivot many times. So be okay with that. But figure out where you want to go, because, you can't make a plan if we don't know where we're going. So let's
Mm-hmm.
figure out where we want to go first. Then let's start figuring out what it takes to be an entrepreneur and how you're going to differentiate yourself. Whatever you do, whatever you sell, whatever you make, you are not the only person in the world who does it. So figure out how you are going to make it different. And
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people who are just in that place, hone your craft. Get as familiar with it as you can. If there are certifications that you need, things like that, business licenses, get those. Get those. Let your 9 to 5 fund your passion.
I love that. How many of you are ready to let your 9 to 5 fund your passion? Now hear me. When 9 to 5 funds your passion, I'm not saying take the 9 to 5 hours and work your passion. We want to
No.
be integral about how we do it. But then there's that challenge is I want to work my passion, but I'm doing a 9 to 5. And maybe it's not even entrepreneurship. Maybe it's I'm in the wrong role and I need to expand. What would you tell somebody that's just in the wrong role? How do they make the leap and find themselves where they need to be?
I still think it's a lot of the same types of challenges or same types of processes. You need to figure out what your passion is. B, you need to start honing your craft, and then see what differentiates you from all the other people doing that type of job. Is it something that you can walk into immediately, or something that you need some training, some skills, some licenses? Figure those things out, but don't feel boxed in to a role. Maybe you liked it 10 years ago, but that doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. The corporate job is not, a life sentence. Like, you can never exit. So definitely take the time to figure it out and then work it into your plan.
Love that. Question for you. So you've got someone and they come to you as a client, or maybe they're just talking,
Mhm.
and what they're finding is that what they're doing, whether it's their operational, the way their business is being run, it doesn't really align with their values and there's a struggle.
Oh,
How do you help them with that?
oh, that's a really good one, because I actually had this happen to me very, very early in my entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very similar to what you're saying here. A client was referred to me, um, and the beliefs of the business owner were a direct contradiction to everything that I believe in. And as much as I wanted to take the client, because I knew I could do the job and they
Mm-hmm.
would be a good reference for me moving forward, I had to decline the business. Now, that's hard to do when you're early on and you're like, where the coins coming in? We need the coins. But at the end of the day, whether it's in your entrepreneurial journey or in your corporate, you need to be able to look at yourself. You need to have trust and integrity in yourself, because when you sell out, your integrity, your character is
Mhm.
compromised. So I think it goes back to doing it afraid. Just you sometimes the decisions are scary, but we have to trust ourselves to know when they're the right decisions.
That goes back to what you said about knowing yourself.
Yes.
If you know and you're aligned with what brings you value, what makes you feel validated, I hope that, and listeners hear me, I hope for you that if the role you're in or the direction you're going doesn't align with your values, it doesn't stimulate your passion, your creativity, that you feel uncomfortable, that almost like a woman that's about to give birth, that you cannot sit still. And that's not me wishing anything bad on you. Sometimes the way I learned to swim is the best way to do it in business, is that when something gets ripped from you that you would not have otherwise walked away from, the better decisions, the better options and opportunities have room to grow.
Absolutely. I love it.
So now people have taken the leap. They've taken the leap. They're entrepreneurs. They're doing their passion, and now they're all over the place. They need you. So they found their passion, but they need to harness it into a system, into a process, into a business, and the back end. How do you help that person?
I always start with a systems audit, and I'll
Mm,
tell you why. When most businesses start, they generally have some level of success in the beginning. They feel great. It's just them. They did 5 clients. They doing the happy dance all over their Instagram feed. And then they want to go to 10 clients. 10 looks different from 5. They only want to go to 20 clients. 20 clients looks way different from the way I did stuff at 5. So this is where the systems come in. You
mm,
cannot scale to new heights with no foundation.
mm,
You have to have a foundation. You have to have systems in place that do things that as you grow, you won't have time to do. And this is often what causes stress and burnout. And just to throw some statistics out there, because I'm a data junkie,
it's what
um,
you do.
it is calculated that most female owned businesses go under in 5 years, not because of funding, not because they have a bad product or service, but they burn out. They just get to that point where they're like, I can't do it no more. I can't do it no more. So, what I try to help people with from the beginning is start with some of the basic services that are available for free. I have to stress that. Get you a free customer relationship management tool, get you a free invoicing platform. There are actually ones that do it all now. They're getting so sophisticated, and there are a lot of them that are designed for small businesses. So I say start with a solid foundation, thinking 3 to 5 years ahead. By 5 years, if your business has grown to where you want it to, you need to reassess, because now
Mm.
you have different needs and you might have a team and a whole bunch of other things. So I just try to get them started with the systems that they need.
So after the passion comes the system,
Yes,
so that the passion doesn't become a burden and burnout. How many
exactly.
out there? How many out there have felt burnout and know what that looks like? Know what that feels like? Go ahead. Go ahead. Type it in the chat. Describe your situation. My burnout is worse than yours. I get it. We've been there. Whether it's temporary, uh, year end, fiscal year end, depending on what your industry is, there are lots of things that when you weren't even working for yourself, that you became burned out, especially if you didn't love what you do.
Absolutely.
So now, as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, they come to you and you help them build foundation and move to the next level for scalability.
Absolutely. And one thing I always like to point out, and people don't think about this when they first start their business, but one day you really want to be on the beach and not hitting buttons on the keyboard. Yes, we live this digital lifestyle, work anywhere, that's great. But what happens when you don't want to work? You have $1 million business. You have to have standard operating procedures in place. You have to be able to tell the people that you hire what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. You want them to understand the systems that you have in place. All of these things helps you get to that ultimate goal, whatever that goal is, whether that goal is financial. If you say, I'm looking to make $1 million, or I just want to work anywhere, I just want to travel all the time, I want 500 clients, whatever that goal is, if you don't have the mapping to get there and the process to support that, you'll never make it. It's just like building your $1 million home on the beach, knowing that the sand will definitely wash away.
Because the tide is coming.
The tide is coming.
It's rolling in. Absolutely. So I want to recap some of the nuggets that you've dropped already. Um, Distinguishing our passion from our hobby. That was a gut punch in the beginning. I get it. Some of us have hobbies that are not sustainable for our lifestyles that we want, our houses for the long term, etc. And some of them are, but without a system, we're in the same boat. We can get burnt out. Then you also said that it's important for us to know what we have, what we do, what we're passionate about, so that we can solidly stand on what it is that our business is all about, what it is that our business does, and be able to fight for it in the dark times.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, and I'm sticking a pin right here, can you tell me what that looks like, the dark times of entrepreneurship, or the dark times of feeling your way to your passion?
Oh, a loaded question, because um, becoming an entrepreneur, um, I felt like I was every week was a new hurricane. She was blowing through every week. I'd be like, but I don't know how to do that. What's do a LinkedIn live event? I don't know what that is. It is the fastest course in learning what you don't know
Mhm.
at midnight. You're like at your laptop and all you have is Google and Siri, and that nobody else is around to talk to. So I would say in those dark times,
Mhm.
what has sustained me is knowing that the value that I would eventually bring business owners was worth every penny I was planning to charge and would bring them peace of mind. Like I always say stress less and profit,
Mhm.
because there's ways to stress less. Don't get me wrong, there's things that are going to stress you, good days and dark days, but you can stress less if you have a process that you feel confident is going to take care of what you need. And I also like to point out, your reputation as a business owner is so important, especially a small business owner.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that you have a process in place. Did you say thank you to the client? Did you wish them a happy birthday? Did you
Mhm.
follow up with them in a timely fashion? Because we're busy doing other things, those things slip through the cracks. And the next thing you know, it's all over Facebook.
And those 5 clients that you struggle to get.
Yes, they left. They're down the street somewhere now.
So you said something else, and I'm going to tie it to something you said in the beginning. You said when you're finding your passion, what is it that you would do all day that you could still get up in the rain? You could still get up when it doesn't look like it's going to work, and you would do it because it validates you. There's something internal. And then just now, it sounded like you gave us a little bit of your self talk,
Yes.
reminding yourself that the quality, the why, finding the why and rehearsing the why,
Mm-hmm.
reminding yourself that the value that you're going to give your clients is worth the price that you charge. This part, sometimes because it's our passion, because we love to do it, we don't always get or charge what we should because of that. You also mentioned imposter syndrome. Talk to the struggle between charging and delivering on the quality that you already are.
So let's talk about charging for a minute. Charging and imposter syndrome go hand in glove. Um, and for those who may not know what imposter syndrome is, it's when you feel like you are an imposter. Like you can't say, I'm not a CEO, or I don't know how to do that, or I don't have a suit that's as nice as that one, and I don't drive a car like that's as nice as this one. All of these things keeps you from pressing towards your goal. And that will prevent you from charging the value of the price or the service you're offering. So sometimes we get into this, I'm going to discount it, I'm going to do it for free, I'm going to give them something, or a barter. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with bartering with people. I've bartered with people. They did a service for me, I did a service for them. It is a good way to get ahead, but at the end of the day, we are in for-profit businesses. So you want to make sure that you've done the necessary research about your product or service, because what you don't want to do is outprice yourself from your competition, but you want to be in a range that is reasonable for the service that you are going to deliver. And this is a big one for me, and you want to have a superior customer experience. Now, let me expand on that just a little bit. When you think about times that you've gone shopping, you've been in certain stores, or you bought something from somebody, you think about not only what you purchased, but how it made you feel. The feeling is something that sticks in your brain. When you can create an experience for your customers that says, every time I call Coach K, she just makes me feel like I could just do anything. If you are not doing that for your customers, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're ruining your reputation.
That's amazing. So I just want to level set. How many of you listening can agree, can attest to that you've struggled with understanding your value because it was your passion? And because it's your passion, they say your passion is usually what you would do all day for free. That's just to help you identify it. It's not a rule of thumb for when this is now a business, a livelihood. So, how many of you can admit that you struggled with that? I know I struggled with that.
I have to.
And I've given so much for free, and so that's a whole other story. But I want to just level set the audience. And Cheryl, when you left corporate America, it wasn't, you didn't spin your wheels at a low level role. You went all
Right.
the way up.
Absolutely.
So, what from your corporate experience would you say has impacted or informed or helped you with your business?
Oh, so much, so much. I do not discount my years in corporate. I learned everything about marketing, I learned about systems and about automation. I learned the need for having defined, documented processes. It also gave me, because I had the benefit of working with a lot of clients when I was in corporate, it gave me a sense of how to negotiate contracts, work with clients, all of those things. So I never discount that time there. However, being an entrepreneur has taught me probably 27 years worth of lessons and things I did not know in the last 6 years since I've been a business owner. So one of the things that I would say is going into this, just have a journey mindset. We look at people online. We're like, well, how did she get there so quickly? Sometimes quick was 10 years. You just didn't know she was grinding for 9, So just don't compare yourself to others and understand that it's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's beautiful. A marathon, not a sprint. You will wear yourself out sprinting a long distance. Not many people can do it. So using what you have, and I want to go back to those people that don't plan on leaving. Sometimes people don't plan on leaving, but they want to build a business on the side, or they want to move from the role that has them stuck. You mentioned all the things that you learned, and I would encourage those that might feel stuck in a role, figure out what about the role you like and capture that. And some of the things you don't like, once you scale your business, you can outsource that. You can
absolutely
to do the part that you don't love.
Absolutely.
But I feel like, let's help them don't give up. It might be 2 years before you can take the leap. So let's give them a couple of tips that before they leave or before they move, what should they be doing as they prepare for their journey?
I think that number one is plan. You guys probably picked that up from me. I'm a project manager, so everything gets a plan. So I would say plan what it is that you need for whatever your point of next is, whether your point of next is a side hustle, whether your point of next is you're starting your own business, or if you're going into a new role. What are the things that you are going to need to be successful when you arrive there? And then document that. I'm big on paper. So write that down somewhere and then put a plan together on how you're going to get those things. I started when I was in corporate. I had a little side hustle, but I knew that I wanted to do this type of role. So I went and got my customer experience certification because I knew that if I wanted to help small businesses who often have an issue with the customer experience, I'm sure your listeners can all give you a story about that time they went into the store and you were like, this is why I'm never coming back here. So you don't want to be that business. So I said, I'm going to help fix that. So I got certified as a customer experience person while I was still doing my 9 to 5. So just spend time, invest time in doing things that will prepare you to be distinguishable. And I keep using that word because you want to stand out in the crowd. It's the crowd, regardless of what you do. It might be a crowded field. You have to find a way to say, this is why I'm different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if somebody wanted to work with you, talk to me about what you have going on, any things that, in addition to, would you agree, listeners, that you've gotten some gems from Cheryl today? Absolutely. Write it in the chat. And Cheryl, just tell us, how can the listeners work with you?
Absolutely. So number one, my website is cljamesconsulting.com. I am CL James on Instagram and Cheryl James on LinkedIn. People often have a misconception that because I say fractional COO, it has some, 6-digit price tag on it. It is not the case. So I help a lot of people just with a system audit, and I'll tell you the price, $47. Normally, you're going to save more than $47 in all the systems that allow you to decommission because you didn't need them. So your savings will pay for that audit. And then it goes up from there. I do project plans. I do event coordination. Anything that's operational, and some people say is either data related or in the weeds, that's when you call me.
So remember I said those parts of the role that once you're ready to leave, you can't wait to scale so that you can farm it out? Exhibit A.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you mine. I said that as soon as I became profitable, I was not going to be the social media manager anymore. I was not going to sit in front of Canva every week and rake those posts. And I promise you, when I became profitable, I was ready. I already had the girl's number on speed dial, and that thing was gone. So don't do what doesn't bring you joy if you can help it.
Because we did it so long. Why continue to do it? Don't do what doesn't bring you joy. And so that's incentive to even scale, to become profitable so that you don't have to do what doesn't bring you joy.
Absolutely.
I hope that this conversation has helped somebody distinguish between passion and a hobby, understand the need for foundation, understand the need for a system and systems in place so that it frees you up. I'm going to help somebody right here. Some of the words that Cheryl used, it wasn't that they were over our head, but they might be attached to some negative connotation. Numbers, data, processes, SOPs, standard operating procedures, etc. Some of those things you may have a negative connotation with, but I need you to understand something. When you put them in place, you free your time up to do your why. You free yourself up to still love doing your passion as opposed to it becoming a burden. So, fractional COO, Cheryl James, you have given us so many good tips and tidbits. I wonder if you have anything else you want to share with our listeners before we go.
So Coach K doesn't even know I'm about to say this. So I'm going to let her decide how this happens, but I'm willing to give away one of my programs. I have a program called Polished Processes. It takes you through everything about how to get set up foundationally, and you get a 1-hour coaching session with me. So, Coach K, you figure out how you're going to pick the lucky winner, but I want to bless somebody.
I love it. If you want to be one that is considered for this, I need you to click the link that we have in the description and type SOAR, and we will put your name into the running, and we will let you know and reach out to you and let you know that you won that. Now, if you didn't win and you just are like, I'm sold, I need this because I hate baking, but I love baking. If that's you, if you have gotten to the place where your passion has become your pain, then reach out to Cheryl and let her know that $47 systems audit is bananas, in case you don't know, because I'm about to sign up. Look at myself. see what, listen, how many of you are like, you look and you're like, well, what is that charge? What did I sign up for? Like if cable tries to sell me Hulu one more time, I'm already getting it from somebody else. Right?
That's exactly what it is. It's like you have 12 systems that all do the same thing. Did you know? And most small business owners are like, I don't even know how I got that. When did I sign up for that? Or
there was an ad.
Some guy that I met at a networking event told me this was better than sliced bread. I never even clicked on it. Like, I save you from that.
Fantastic. Thank you again for being our guest. Thank you for your incredible nuggets and sharing your journey with us. We know it's not easy, but you make it look easy. And we're just glad that you gave us the real today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, you, I was thinking about you. And you know what I was thinking? I think it's time for you to soar. I hope you enjoyed this episode where we distinguished hobbies from passion, where we distinguished systems that aren't in place or redundancies from systems that are operational and free you up to do what it is you are passionate and purposed to do. If you enjoyed this, share it with a friend, share it with somebody that you know will benefit, and make sure you've subscribed and clicked on the notifications so that when we drop a new episode, you're already in the know. I'm excited for you because you are one step closer to soaring. Hey you, it's time for you to soar.